What's up everyone, it's Endymion, and oh god do I have some Disney sludge for you today. As you're very aware by now, the House of Mouse is a few more box office bombs away from Mickey Mouse becoming homeless. And you'd think for a company that has had a legendary couple of years in terms of mismanagement, discourse, and failures, they would learn from their mistakes and improve for the future. But as you'll see in this video, it's getting worse. So consider this entire video as one big information dump to get you up to date on the latest going-ons, and good lord, does it look bleak. To start, let's look at that new Rey-led Star Wars movie, which is going to take place 15 years after Rise of Skywalker, with Rey building up the Jedi Order after Luke vaporized himself into a piss mist in Last Jedi. From bounding into comics, we have the article titled, "Upcoming Star Wars film focused on Rey will see her train a female apprentice destined to emerge as the future leader." This brings a ton of information about how Star Wars at Disney will continue to be defiled by Darth Kennedy herself. The press release from this event tells us a little more and what the director of this future dumpster fire thinks, which says, Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy will tell the story of rebuilding the new Jedi Order and the powers that rise to tear it down. The director then delighted fans by welcoming Daisy Ridley to stage, confirming she'll be reprising her beloved role as Rey in the upcoming movie. Ain't nobody thinks Rey is a beloved role, but let's keep going. Darth Kennedy herself also spoke about her vision for this future box office disaster with, and I quote, "Well, we're 15 years out from Rise of Skywalker, so we're kind of post-war, post-First Order, and the Jedi are in disarray. And there's a lot of discussion around who are the Jedi, what are they doing, what's the state of the galaxy. And she's attempting to rebuild the Jedi Order based on the books, based on what she promised Luke, so that's where we're going. And it took a lot of discussion because obviously we've been developing stories in different spaces. And television has been a big focus of our attention right now, but there's still so much interest in what happens after Rise of Skywalker, so we are excited to do that now," end quote. You gotta hand it to Kathleen Kennedy, she's about as optimistic as she is blind at least. No one wants to see Rey's journey continue, especially when Rise of Skywalker made like half of what Force Awakens did in theaters, which I'm not kidding, that's real. Usually the finale to your trilogy should be the most successful, but Kennedy's moronic decisions made half of Star Wars' audience bow out, me included. And it looks like she hasn't learned anything from her failures and will instead double down. From Screen Rant, we have another article titled, "Star Wars New Jedi Order Plot Synopsis Reportedly Revealed, Rey and her two apprentices shape the future." This information all comes from Production Weekly, which is a subscription data service that supplies studios, actors, and so on with the latest news about upcoming projects. Anyway, this service had news about the upcoming Star Wars sequel, which is apparently titled Star Wars New Jedi Order as of right now. In this bulletin it says, "Set roughly 15 years after Rey's victory over Palpatine at the end of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. The sequel delves into Rey's courageous endeavor to restore the Jedi Order, where she assumes the role of a mentor to two promising young students, a girl and a boy. As her training progresses, it becomes evident that the girl possesses extraordinary abilities destined to emerge as the future leader." And there it is, my friends, Darth Kennedy is doubling down on her Force is female promise. With a staggering loss of revenue across everything Star Wars, the last thing we need is another Mary Sue protagonist who's probably also gay because ESG reasons. If this film does end up happening, well, it's going to be box office poison and Disney will be in for a rude awakening when the movie flops. And speaking of flops, let's quickly talk about Indiana Jones, which Kennedy also produced and will flop big time when it releases soon. In that film, we have Indiana Jones as another tired, weak man who watches as the girl boss does everything cool and exciting. And the reviews of that film solidify that the Dial of Destiny is a certified stinker. But Kennedy thinks a woman could and should continue the franchise. Phoebe Waller-Bridge plays Helena Shaw, who is basically just Rey again. In the original ending that got panned by test audiences and had to be reshot, Harrison Ford ends up dying and Phoebe Waller-Bridge replaces him as the new hero. She even takes his hat and his whip in that original ending. But the reception was so nuclear levels of bad that Disney had to reshoot the entire ending sequence. But it shows that if Kennedy fully got her way, she would have iced Indy in his own movie and had a woman walk over his corpse and assume his identity. Wait a second, that sounds familiar, doesn't it? Then you have Pedro Pascal, who also recently said that we need more representation and we shouldn't limit characters to genders or skin colors. In this particular interview, Pascal says he would have wanted Joel in The Last of Us to be played by a woman instead of him. And he was also quoted saying that he fully supports Bo-Katan taking over the leading role in The Mandalorian. And while Joel was still a man, at least in live action, we already got a taste of The Mandalorian with Pascal's character playing second fiddle to Bo-Katan. And I gotta be real with you guys, it was awful. It really sucked ass, like truly. All of this future is female garbage is a big reason why these properties are failing, not because women can't lead, but because it feels forced and contrived. Audiences are sick of having their expectations subverted when a strong female character takes a leading role, especially when these projects are promoted with a male main character. It's just deceptive, lazy writing, and it doesn't work, since Mando Season 3 had its lowest ratings ever, and it's no surprise. But these studios know the only way to get butts in seats is to market their products as having strong male characters in leading roles, and then once the tickets are bought, they can slowly subvert your expectations and pull a 180 on you right before it's too late for you to refund your ticket. And then these companies get your money and their representation so they can put it in a bullet point slideshow at their next investor meeting. And everyone will clap like dumbasses saying, wow, you guys are so progressive. And thankfully the audience is getting smarter, and all of this nonsense in the last year alone has cost Disney over $900 million in losses, with all of Disney's movies in the past year costing a whopping total of $2.75 billion to make. So yeah, that's a lot of money down the drain for Mickey Mouse and his crackhead friends. And it turns out the CEO of Disney, Bob Iger's recent comments agree with this, with Iger saying during Disney's Q1 earnings call, and I quote, "Additionally, we are going to lean more into our franchises, our core franchises, and our brands. I talked about curation and general entertainment. We have to be better at curating the Disney and the Pixar and the Marvel and the Star Wars of it all. And of course, reduce costs on everything that we make. While we are extremely proud what's on the screen, it's gotten to a point where it's extraordinarily expensive. We want all the quality, we want the quality on the screen, but we have to look at what they cost us. As we grow the business in terms of the global footprint, we realize that we made a lot of content that is not necessarily driving sub growth, and we're getting much more surgical about what it is we make. As we look to reduce content spread, we're looking to reduce it in a way that should not have any impact at all on subs. We believe there is an opportunity for us to focus more on real sub drivers. And one interesting example I should throw marketing into, where when you make a lot of content, everything needs to be marketed. You are spending a lot of money marketing things that are not going to have an impact on the bottom except negatively due to the marketing costs. One thing we also know is that our films, those that are released theatrically, big tentpole movies in particular, are great sub drivers. But we were spreading our marketing costs so thin that we were not allocating enough money to even market them when they came on the service. As witnessed by the ones that are coming up, including Avatar, Little Mermaid, Guardians of the Galaxy, Indiana Jones, Elemental, etc., where we actually believe we have an opportunity to lean into those more, put the right marketing dollars against it, allocate more away from programming that was not driving any subs at all. I guess this is part of the maturation process as we grow into a business that we have never been in. Specifically, we are learning a lot more about how our content behaves on the service and what it is consumers want, end quote. So basically, Bobby Boy is quickly realizing that Disney needs to stop being stupid and must focus on their core brands and make sure they have the money to market those brands to drive Disney Plus's growth, like duh. Because like he said, it's not the little shows that's making Disney money, think Willow for example, but the big huge releases like Avatar or whatever Marvel releases. And because of this marketing strategy, Disney is pushing the wrong kinds of content and not marketing the right ones to let people know why they should subscribe to Disney Plus to begin with. And due to this, Disney's trying to save around $2 billion by the end of this year when it comes to marketing costs. And they plan to release less content going forward, but of hopefully higher quality. And while all of this sounds cool, actions obviously speak louder of course. About a year ago, there was a video with Vivian Ware, who's the head of diversity and inclusion for Disney, which I can't believe is even a real position at a company. Anyway, a video resurfaced of this lady where she talks about how Disney wants to approach gender roles at theme parks, so please watch.
Last summer, we removed all of the gendered greetings in relationship to our live spiels. So we no longer say ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We've provided training for all of our cast members in relationship to that. So now they know it's hello everyone or hello friends. We are in the process of changing over those recorded messages. And so many of you are probably familiar. No longer say ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we say dreamers of all ages. And so I love the fact that it's opened up the creativity, the opportunity for our cast members to look at that. We have our cast members working with merchandise, working with food and beverage, working with all of our guest facing areas where perhaps, we want to create that magical moment with our cast members, with our guests. And we don't want to just assume because someone might be in our interpretation, maybe presenting as female, that they may not want to be called princess. So let's think differently about how do we really engage with our guests in a meaningful and inclusive way that makes it magical and memorable for everyone.
As you can see from even a year ago to today, Disney is hell-bent on pushing gender ideology in any way that they can. I really don't think a 6-year-old girl who goes to Disneyland is going to get triggered if she gets called a princess. The only people who that'll trigger are the obese, blue-haired feminists stuffing their faces with corn dogs who think being fat is a sexual identity. But that's modern woke nonsense for you people, and I hate it here. And then on the rumor about Disney selling Star Wars, some sites like Dork Side of the Force chimed in saying that there's no evidence of this happening, and they claimed that Overlord DVD, who broke this news, was simply lying. However, Overlord and Cameron Pasha, who both claim to have inside knowledge of Disney, and mind you, it was Overlord that broke stories like Indy 5's original ending getting reshot, and many other Disney inner circle talks that came to be true that broke this story to begin with. And while it may not happen, it's still in the cards for Disney, and recently Overlord and Pasha heard from their sources that the Acolyte has been scrapped, and its creator Leslie Headland has been fired by Lucasfilm. And this news won't be fully announced until later, where Disney will quietly sweep the Acolyte under the rug and pretend like it never happened. But if this does end up being true, this would be yet another failed project that Kathleen Kennedy has promised fans without actually delivering anything. And don't forget, she also announced that Star Wars Dawn of the Force movie, which is being directed by James Mangold, who did Dial of Destiny. And if there's any way someone could ruin Star Wars to an irreversible degree, it would be by going to the beginning of the entire mythos and putting in some bullshit reasoning that trumps even midichlorians. Maybe the first Jedi was a black woman with new pronouns, or maybe the Force was created in a laboratory. God knows what kind of awful reasoning Kennedy and her cohorts could come up with when it comes to ruining Star Wars forever. And right as I was making this video, there was more news that The Acolyte, which is supposedly cancelled, or could just be a series of short films at best, has casted the first ever transgender actor in a non-minor role within the series. And this should come as no surprise, since the lead actor for this Acolyte show, that apparently isn't even a real show according to sources, stars a self-described non-binary actor in the lead role, which at this point I think actors just say they are in order to get special treatment, but whatever. As we've seen in the past, the genders of those involved don't instantly make something worth watching all of a sudden. If that were true, then a whole lot of woke crap wouldn't be getting cancelled or removed from streaming services permanently. As for all things, I guess we'll wait and see, won't we? But as of now anyway, consider yourself up to date on everything important related to Disney, Star Wars, and all the other nonsense. Thank you for watching, subscribe for more content like this, like the video to help the channel out, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.